ClowdyWorld, and man, we got some more Vultures info for y'all. So Kanye West is planning to bypass streaming and sell Vultures 2 on Yeezy.com. Basically, that means that it wouldn't be available on Spotify, Apple Music, none of that. And you'd probably only hear it on that platform if someone illegally made it and repurposed it to be listened to, which you already know Ye would sue them into the ground every time. So this is pretty crazy because he says this comes after Stephen Blake said that streaming devalued the music and price and quality of the music and art overall. Now this comes just a few days after Kanye just made a big bag off the Yeezy.com merch sales and really was talking about the team about how to release the next album. His team, has basically pretty much been on point with at least putting him and his focus first, no matter what anyone says. They seem like they do have a pretty strong amount of care for what he does and his passions. So Kanye wrote, "I got 20 million Instagram followers. When 5% of my followers buy an album, that's 1 million albums sold. That's 300K more than the biggest one last year." Now that's big facts, and honestly Kanye is probably one of the only people that I know could actually do and accomplish that goal that he sets for that, but it's gonna take some time. And I think that him just assuming that people will just break that down and go spend that, especially $20, which right now, whether that's hard for you or not hard for you, we are in a pretty heavy time for a lot of people. They got to figure out where their bread and things like that are coming from, and it's not really fair to just assume that and put that on people in general. Now again, for Kanye, I will argue that music is creativity, expression, but overall it's still entertainment. How you choose to entertain someone, you have every right to charge what you want to charge for that entertainment and effort you put in. It's your job to entertain, it's their job as the consumers to pay the prices that you use to entertain them. It's fees for everything, that's how it go. But it is really unique because he tried this recently with Donda 2 on the bundle thing. That was like a streaming pod that allows you to change certain amounts of the 808s and the beats and the instrumentals. It was a really open-minded approach to an album concept, and I feel like it hasn't really gotten the love it needs. I'm probably going to make a deep dive breakdown on that as well, because it really is interesting overall to see that Kanye's basically went from being not only a streaming god, which he still is. His album Vultures already has 600 million streams already, which is insane, especially because for being so late in his career, that's still the biggest independent album selling I think of all time. So for anyone just saying he fell off, think about this. You don't realize how much marketing these big companies put into you until you realize that now Kanye's doing it all himself. So when people are just saying, oh, he's fell off or not, he hasn't fallen off. He's just not being pushed on any mainstream platform or even allowed for his music to be heard on any mainstream platform, because those mainstream platforms, rightfully so or wrongfully so, however you look at it, are not going to allow someone who's made certain statements, even if they've apologized or not, to be heard. For anyone pretending that that still isn't what it is, we know it's still what it is. Let's not be, let's not pretend that there's another bigger issue that we all don't know what it is. So it's just really unique to see that this is the journey he's come through, which is kind of like a starting from one point, being canceled by so many people, coming back now and getting that attention back from his diehard fan base, but still kind of dealing with everything else going on as a whole. So I hadn't heard much about this James Blake person before, and it seems like they're starting to be a pretty well-known person in the industry, and we're going to talk about them as well. So when we speak on Kanye's overall career, we have to really focus on a few different things. One being just a lot of the industry in itself is all collaborated and works together. And by that, it doesn't mean they all like each other. It means that whoever's in the know usually are also in the know together. So James Blake, as we know or we may not know, is a English songwriter and record producer. He's 35 years old, and he's from doing a lot of big things for a while. And it's really unique to see this perspective, because many people aren't going to take the time and just call it out right. They're going to try to say, oh, this is this or this is that or some other thing. Nah, man, called it out exactly what it was, and I think that's what we needed to see, man. And when breaking that stuff down, it also brings a bigger light toward the streaming thing as a whole, because he's not wrong at all about the undervaluing of music because of streaming. The average streams that it takes to sell an album, I think, is 1,500 streams equals one album sale, 3,000 for two, or I think somewhere in the middle, depending on what it's streaming on for different services. I think it varies from Spotify to Apple Music to Tidal, etc. I know Tidal pays the most by far out of any other streaming service, and it's a very, very big gap. Snoop Dogg recently just came out in an interview where he talked about how he had over 1 billion with a B. To put that in perspective, there's only 6 rappers this year who've even touched that in their life. Not even did it this year, touched it in their life.
They just sent me some from Spotify where I got 1 billion streams, right? My publisher hit me. I said, break that down, how much money is that? It wasn't even $45,000.
That's crazy. That is crazy.
So to really put that in perspective, man, and one of them's Travis Scott right now. So just think about how big you have to be able to be there, either consistently on point or just a legend. And he says that he was made $45,000 off of 1 billion streams. Now again, $45,000 is not a small amount of money. That is a very big amount of money for a lot of people. That's, I think, a little bit over the average income in America. But let's put that in perspective. If you got 1 billion views on a YouTube video, you would be sitting comfortable for the rest of your life. You would never have to work a day in your life. You'd be so affluent that it wouldn't even be able to put in perspective. Like Club Shay Shay, Shannon Sharp interview with Cat Williams did 60 million views, and it's estimated that it made between $1 and $3 million. If I had to be, a betting man, I'd say around $3 million. So that's 60 million views. Multiply that by, I think, 14 to 18, somewhere between that multiplier, and you'll get the concept. You wouldn't have to work. So when you get that number, think about how dirty that they're doing them in the music industry, where they're making literal peanut pellets on their own artistic creativity. It's pretty disgusting, fam, to be very honest. But again, that's just how it is. And though it is really lame, that's just my opinion on it. Some of you all may feel like because it's them creating and it's poetry, it's still music and they have a right to make as much money as they want. And some of y'all might feel like they should be lucky they can make money off music in general, as many people are working harder jobs and putting in more manual labor. No matter your perspective on it, no one's really wrong. But I want to know y'all thoughts on it. Do y'all feel like Kanye is tweaking and that people in Snoop Dogg's position are also tweaking? Or do you feel like the artist deserves more creative control again, in that streaming not only is oversaturated, but also that streaming has an issue where it's devaluing music? Let me know what you all think, and ClowdyWorld, we gone.